Hi guys, it's been a while. Where have I been? Oh my gosh, where have you been, Loca? Like,
Bella! Where the hell have you been, Loca?
oh gosh, yeah, it's been a hot minute, and I basically went through the struggle bus, and we are here now after the struggle bus. Still slightly struggling, but we're off the struggle bus for now until we hop on for the next semester. But essentially, last I spoke to you guys, I was, doing my first exam in medical school. Now I finished my first semester in medical school, so there's been a big gap between the time that we last spoke. So what happened? Essentially, medical school got really hard really quickly, and I just didn't know how to adapt very well. So instead of focusing on YouTube and, getting my medfluencer life on track, I was focusing on getting my med school life on track, which I hope you guys understand is, important as well. So essentially, last I spoke to you guys, it was a day in the life of a stressed out medical student, I think. And I had just finished genetics. It was my first exam ever in medical school, and I passed it. I knew from the beginning that that exam would have been a doable one because all of the upperclassmen had told us that it wasn't super difficult. It was challenging nonetheless, but still doable. And so, when I passed, I felt really great. I felt relieved. I felt good. I felt like I could take on the world. You know how we do. And then we shifted over to foundations. Foundations of medicine is 4 exams in one block, so it's a very long block, and it essentially covers the basics of medicine, the foundations of medicine. It talks about cells, it talks about, biochemical pathways, it talks about diseases in the context of the foundations of medicine. So I know that makes, no sense, but bear with me. So essentially, I thought that it was going to be a walk in the park. I thought it was going to be exactly like genetics, because for genetics, I didn't really study that much, and I still did okay. And granted, I didn't know how to study at the time, and I still didn't know how to study at that time when I was transitioning over to foundations. So, with all that said, I failed my first medical school exam, which happened to be my second medical school exam. And that was embarrassing, because clearly I was cocky, I was arrogant, I didn't know what I was doing. And the truth is, I felt really ashamed, I felt really embarrassed. I filmed the whole process of me failing and getting my score back and all of that, and it was embarrassing for me, and I didn't know how to talk about it. It feels a little silly to just go ahead and film right after everything that's happened, but I feel like people need to see the good and bad parts of medical school, and this is just one of those bad parts, and it's gonna be okay. I mean, I feel that knowing that you aren't alone when failure happens is really powerful and can help you through difficult times, so that's what I'm trying to do here. I then went on to proceed and, continue on with my exams. And then the next exam for foundations, which was foundations 2, I had 3 exams that week, actually. I had a clinical skills practical, which is basically where you pretend to be a doctor and you, perform your doctor skills. That was fine. But I had an anatomy practical, which I had already done one anatomy practical, but on top of just doing an anatomy practical and a foundations exam, I realized it was just too much, and I failed both of them. So technically I failed 3 exams. I failed Foundations 2 by 1 question. But by some miracle of God, by some miracle, they gave 1 point back. So I didn't fail Foundations 2. Can you believe that? So I only had to remediate 2 exams so far. So still, I was very embarrassed. I realized at that point that I needed to do something. I needed to change something about what I was doing, because clearly it wasn't working for me. And long story short, it buckled down to health stuff that made it difficult for me to kind of get myself on track. I slept way too much, and I didn't know how to combat that, so I just started you know, switching up my medications a little bit, drinking more caffeine, and I drank like 3 cups of coffee a day. It's actually just 1 cup of coffee and a can of Celsius, but we'll count the Celsius as 2 cups of coffee. And essentially there was that made a difference because I passed the next 2 foundations exam. Remember that foundations had 4 exams. So I passed the last 2 exams for foundations, which was a relief. And then we had like little exams interspersed, like a research exam, which I did fine on, an ethics exam as well, and then another anatomy practical, which was the 3rd anatomy practical that we had, which was the last one. I also did okay on that one. I failed medical school exams, and this is where I'm at right now. What do I have to do? So in our school, in our curriculum, we have to pass every single exam. You have to pass every single exam with a 75% or higher, regardless of how you score on the overall course. So say that you get a 68, but you get 90s on all your other exams, your overall class average would be above a 75, but you still have to remediate that 68 that you failed. So it makes it a challenge because, you know, you have to remediate every exam that you don't pass. And so I didn't pass 2 of them. I have a lot of classmates who passed every single one. So imagine how I feel. I feel like crap. And on top of that, a lot of my classmates who didn't pass an exam didn't really want to talk about it. And I understand why. There's this embarrassment, there's this shame that is associated with not passing, and I really hope that this video helps to alleviate some of that, because clearly what I was doing was not working out for me, and I'm hoping that, you know, this is a lesson learned for everyone who kind of like follows in a similar footstep, who has similar experiences, what we could do differently to improve our grades and to improve our performance overall. I had to remediate 2 exams, and I did that over winter break, and I passed one of them. I'm still waiting to hear back on the second one, the anatomy practical. So that's where we're at right now. Let's talk about some of the good things. I ended up joining a student organization called White Coat Company, which we filmed little productions for the kiddos at the children's hospital, and that was so much fun. We did Shrek and the Little Mermaid, and that was great production. That was a great time. I really enjoyed it. I also ended up doing my preceptorship, which preceptorship is essentially kind of like your clinicals, where you follow a physician around, and it's basically like shadowing, but like you do things like you have to take histories, which is essentially asking people, what brings you in here today? You know, like, like, oh, like, tell me about your family history. Like, that's what a history is. And so, doing all of that, I did that in sports medicine, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't really like sports at all. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. I learned a lot, even though I was really hesitant about the field at first. And so I'm glad that I was able to do it. I ended up doing it at the student health center nearby, so that was pretty cool. Sad they took down the soda fountain of Gatorade that was supposedly free for all students. They took that down, so that was a bummer because of COVID. But they still hand out bottles of Gatorade if you ask for it. I think that was pretty much the recap of my whole semester. Like, it was just a lot of exams, a lot of stress, me not doing so well for most of it, me doing okay for the rest of it, and then finding things that I enjoyed in the meantime. I haven't started shadowing, haven't started research, haven't started any of that, and hopefully this semester I can start doing some of that, but I'm a little scared because I don't know how this semester is going to be academically, and I don't want to overwhelm myself. So we're going to try our best to adapt and see what our limits are. So hopefully I could take you along this journey with me this time, because last semester was just a roller coaster of a lot of things, so things just didn't fall into place. But hopefully this time things will be better. Alright, with all that said, alright, thank you so much for watching, and I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it was just a hot mess, but thank you for sitting down and chatting with me, and I'll see you guys soon.